So for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama recruiting, much like the Tide, the good times keep on rolling. Today, we need to talk about and break down the Tide's newest member of the class of 2025, five-star wide receiver Caleb Cunningham, and why this is such an incredible addition. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I've got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited that Cunningham commits to Alabama? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And as always, we start this off with, who is Caleb Cunningham? Well, Caleb Cunningham is not only one of the most elite prospects in the class of 2025, ranking as a top 15 player in the nation per the 24/7 Sports Composite. He's one of the most elite wide receivers in an elite wide receiver class, coming in as the number 2 guy. If we look at where he ranks in the 24/7 Sports Composite specifically, I just got done telling you he was a top 15 player. Specifically, he's the number 13 player in the nation, regardless of position, the number 2 wide receiver, and the number 1 player in the state of Mississippi, where he stands 6'1" and 190 pounds. And there's no shortage of things to love about Caleb Cunningham. Whenever you turn on the film, there are going to be a few things that instantly stand out. First and foremost, the thing that you cannot avoid is that he is incredibly sure-handed. He's going up and making one-handed grabs. He knows how to high point a football, and that's complemented by his elite basketball skills. Because if you look into it, this kid is a baller on the hardwood, someone who absolutely turns heads every time he touches the basketball court, and it translates. It absolutely translates to the football field, where when he has to high point a football, he does so with such fluidity, such ease, and such dominance that it makes complete sense that he's also an elite basketball player. The other thing you're going to notice is that he's deceptively fast. And when I say deceptively fast, what I mean is he's got real long strides. And sometimes the guys with those real long strides, you might not think they're moving that quick until you look at him relative to everyone else, and he's leaving people behind him. He will start on equal footing with someone, but it won't take long for him to gain separation. He runs good routes, but he is dangerous with the ball in his hands. Time after time, he proves I'm not just a red zone threat. You can give me the ball anywhere on the football field, and I'm a threat to take it the entire way. And to me, that's intriguing, especially for someone that plays with the level of physicality that he does. Because he is a bigger body wide receiver, though he's not a 6'5" guy. At 6'1", you would be excused for thinking he was 6'3" or 6'4" because of the way he plays, because of the physicality he brings to the table, because of his ability to high point a football. But then when you look at him with the ball in his hands, he's got the skill set of slot wide receivers as well, which is what makes him such an interesting prospect. I mean, they're giving the guy the ball on screen passes. They're making him involved any way they can. And you have to commend his coaches. They know they have a special talent in Caleb Cunningham, and they make sure to try and get him involved in the offense any possible way they can to keep a defense on their heels. I have no doubt that will continue whenever he gets to college. But let's talk about the journey from high school to college. Because this is a guy that, being from Mississippi, the home schools really wanted to keep him there. Mississippi State and Ole Miss both tried to keep him home. Auburn tried to lure him to the Tiger Stadium, but in the end of the day, it was the Alabama Crimson Tide who came home with this win. And let's talk about why, in my opinion, that's not surprising. There are multiple reasons. First and foremost, whenever we talk about what Alabama has done with the wide receiver position, and I talk about this all the time in live streams, there are a few colleges out there that do phenomenal work with wide receivers. Listen, even if we're Alabama fans, let's keep the main thing the main thing. Let's be objective. Let's be fair. Let's keep facts at the forefront. There are a few colleges out there that are exceptional with wide receiver prospects. But Alabama, if not at the very front of that list, has got to be in consideration for wide receiver U. And let's explain why. Devontae Smith won a Heisman. They sent back-to-back years 2 wide receivers in the first round of the NFL draft. Would have been 3 years straight, and I remain bullish on this point, that Alabama would have gone 3 years straight sending 2 wide receivers in the first round of the NFL draft had John Mechie not gotten hurt. Because every time I go back and I watch John Mechie, I am so impressed as to how gifted he was. And in my opinion, he's one of the more underrated wide receivers, certainly one of the more underrated players of the Nick Saban era. And don't get me wrong, plenty of Tide fans give him his just due. But I don't think that many people understand just how good he was, just how complete his skill set was. He was truly a do-it-all type player. And every time you go back and watch him with Jameson, it was incredible to get to sit back and enjoy. But the reason why I turn your attention to that is because Alabama is the only team in the history of the draft that went back-to-back drafts, sending 2 wide receivers to the NFL draft in the first round, but then they also went that third year, sending Jameson to the first round of the NFL draft. Like I said, I remain bullish on the fact, had Mechie not gotten hurt, it would have been 3 years in a row. 2 wide receivers, first round of the NFL draft. Nobody's done that. You couple that with Devontae Smith winning the Heisman. You look at the first round production Alabama has had, sending wide receivers into the NFL. You look at the guys in the NFL that come from Alabama. The run that the Crimson Tide are currently on for wide receivers, it's notable. It's impossible to ignore. And even if you are an Alabama hater, if we are to keep the main thing, if we are to keep facts at the forefront, you must admit Alabama has every right to be in the wide receiver U conversation, and many Alabama fans will tell you this is wide receiver U. And even if you hate the Crimson Tide, you must admit it's tough to argue that they're not. There's only 1 or 2 other universities out there right now that are even rivaling what they're doing, that are even in the same conversation as to what they're doing. And that's not to reduce what other schools have done. There are so many good schools out there that have done fantastic work with wide receivers, and we need to give them their acknowledgement as well. But my point is 2 things can be true at the same time. Those other schools can do phenomenal work with wide receivers. Hats off to them. We recognize that. We talk about that in the live streams. By the way, Monday, 5:30 Central Standard Time, Friday mornings, 9 a.m. Would love to have you a part of those live streams. Back to the business. But then we also must acknowledge that there are 1, 2, or maybe 3 schools out there that are just kind of sitting on top of the mountain for wide receivers. So I'm not surprised whenever Alabama gets a talented wide receiver. I am very excited to see he and Lotzier Brooks, someone who I think is still super underrated. I mean, you look at Lotzier Brooks, I think he's one of the most gifted players in this class. Notice I didn't say most gifted wide receivers, because I think he supersedes that. I think he's one of the most gifted players in this class. So when we look at the production Alabama has had with wide receivers, I'm already not surprised. But let's dig deeper. The rabbit hole goes deeper, so let's pursue. You look at Shepard, what he just did with wide receivers at Washington. And granted, Washington had phenomenal wide receivers. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to reduce the talent he had to work with. Those guys were good. Real good. But so too are a lot of these guys at Alabama. And now they have a wide receiver coach that has proved he's a force. Not only on the recruiting trail, not only you hear the feedback from parents saying he's infectious. Heck, we've seen the videos. I've tweeted before. I would run through a brick wall, or at least attempt to, for Jamarcus Shepard. Though, let's be honest, the brick wall would get the better of me. Neither here nor there. So you have Jamarcus Shepard. You have the history of Alabama. Let's take it a step further. You've got a quarterback room that's not just relegated to Jalen Milroe. You have Ty Simpson waiting in the wing, someone who, the more I watch this Kalen DeBoer offense, the more I think Ty Simpson has an opportunity to possibly sit a year, Assuming Jalen Milroe goes through the whole year healthy, which we absolutely hope and pray he does. Not only Jalen Milroe, every college football player out there, not even just members of the Crimson Tide. I hope every college football player out there goes through the entirety of the 2024 season healthy and prosperous. I'm a college football fan, first and foremost. But Ty Simpson getting to sit behind Jalen Milroe in this offense, what he could do next year could be incredible. Make no mistake about it. But then you have Dylan Lonergan. Then you have Austin Mack. Then you have Key Russ. This quarterback room is deep, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're a wide receiver, you're taking note of those things. You're understanding, okay, Key Russ is the quarterback in this class. He's a 5-star. He just won Elite 11 MVP. 29-1 in Texas 6A high school football, back-to-back state championships. You don't think that these wide receivers don't take note of that? Listen, wide receivers want to be successful as much as anybody else on the football field wants to be successful. But you want to know the difference between wide receivers and some other positions? They rely on the quarterback. They rely on the quarterback being good at their job in order for them to succeed. We've seen this time and time again. You could have outstanding wide receivers that do make things happen, but if you don't have the requisite quarterback play to go with it, they're not going to hit what they could be. Bama has the quarterback play. Bama has the guy in the class, Key Russ, who's a 5-star, who won Elite 11 MVP, who won Rivals MVP, who has all the accolades I just gave to you. Incredible football player. So that's taken note of. But let's talk about the final thing. And that's Kalen DeBoer. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Saban had so much success recruiting defensive backs because, one, he was a genius at defensive back coaching, a defensive guru, truly, but he played defensive back. Kalen DeBoer played wide receiver. Kalen DeBoer is an offensive guru, an offensive genius. So you have Coach Shepard, you have the history of Alabama, you have the quarterback room, and your head coach on top of being an offensive guru played the position. How is this not an enticing sell? Genuinely. How is this not an enticing sell for wide receivers? This is the pitch. So what does all of this mean for Alabama? Caleb Cunningham now a part of this class. Well, it gives them 21 commits, gives them a score of 299.32. And no, you don't leapfrog Ohio State, but let me be very clear. It seems like with every passing week, Alabama's getting closer. And let's give credit where it's due. This whole video, one of the themes, as you all will know, for those of you that have been around the channel, there are themes in my videos that some of you pick up on. Shoot, sometimes different weeks have entire themes for the week. And then the next week is something different. The theme for this video is let's keep the main thing. And the main thing is facts. That's all I care about. That's all that moves me is facts. And actual discourse. That's all that moves me. Ohio State is recruiting at an elite level right now. I don't care whether you like them. I don't care whether you dislike them. I don't care whether you hate them. That's a conversation for a different day. The fact of the matter is they're recruiting as well as anybody in the nation right now. But guess who is right on their heels? Alabama. Coach Kalen DeBoer, the guy who, wouldn't you know it, we were told wouldn't be able to recruit in the SEC, wouldn't be able to recruit the South. Now, we understand it's July. Nothing but time and opportunity until pen hits paper, and it's not real until pen hits paper. But once again, I'm only moved by the main thing, and the main thing is facts. And facts of the matter is, every team out there is hindered by that same argument, that it's only July. So how can we say other teams are recruiting well, but when it comes to Alabama, oh, well, it's only July? That doesn't make sense. That argument goes without saying because that argument applies to every team out there. That's why you hardly ever hear me say it. And when I do say it, it's because I see it in my comments. And I acknowledge, yes, you're right, it is July. That argument doesn't move me because that argument could be applied to everyone. We're only talking about the facts. And the facts of the matter is right now, as we currently sit here and speak, in July, Kalen DeBoer and Alabama are killing it on the recruiting trail. But I got to hear from you. Let me know what you think about the addition of Caleb Cunningham. Let me know what you think about Kalen DeBoer. Heck, let me know what you think about Jamarcus Shepard. And can they take what's already an institution that develops wide receivers as well as anybody historically, and make it even better. Can't wait to hear from you. That's it. See ya.